guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. It is the nicest day of the year outside right now. It is mid-70s. In fact, I heard on the radio this morning that Boise is supposed to hit 80 today, which they have not done in March since 1997.
Wow.
It's 28 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's fun.
It's going to cool down though.
Yeah, I was just saying, although it is tricking us into feeling like we're at summer. And I actually have a short sleeve shirt on under this, which I've been wearing around, but I'm not ready to show my bright white arms yet. I need to get a little bit of color on them first. But yeah, it is going to cool down. In fact, we've got a couple of nights that are going to freeze. Saturday night, Sunday morning, it looks like it'll be 32. And then we have one night next Friday after next, that's 31. I'm just really hoping that this warmth doesn't trick our fruit trees into blooming.
Yeah. You're going to cover them?
I will if I have to.
Get a smudge pot?
Yeah. Saturday night, I'm going to set an alarm just to go look at them, see if the buds have opened, and if they have, then...
It would be nice if you could, like, attach some kind of... Well, actually, could we put heaters out there? We've got those propane...
All night long?
Well, I mean...
I think it would be just toss... I've got so much frost cloth.
Yeah. Would it even do anything, do you think, if you put those heaters out there?
I don't know. It might.
So it would change the ambient temperature enough within a certain distance? Because, like... Those kinds of heaters go on all night in a lot of places where there's restaurants and things like that.
But I would imagine, like, if you put it on one side of a tree, the other side's going to need one too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we have like 4.
I don't know.
Well, you just cover them.
Yeah, that seems easier. And not burning propane all night long.
Sure.
Yeah. Before we jump into the videos from this past week, I did want to show you a couple of things that we have new in the store. Ken just brought these by, which I'm thankful he did because I'm out. These are Soul Soils soil toppers. So when you repot something, a house plant or succulents, cacti, that kind of thing, you can top dress the soil with these. And there's 4 different colors. There's Original Soul and Kona Gray are my favorite. And they actually darken in color after you water over the top of them and let some of the dust settle. You know, kind of like whenever we get new gravel on the lanes or whatever, they always bring a water truck after they put the gravel down because they're always so covered in dust that I'm like, oh, that gravel's white. I don't want white gravel. And then they'll take the water truck over it and it just knocks all that down so you can see all the color. There's also a couple other colors. There's Saharan Gold, which I just used on Purple People Eater Mangave that I repotted not that long ago, a couple months ago maybe. And I like the contrast because it's a dark purple and so this gold looks really pretty with it. And then there's also Sedona Red. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that we have those in stock on our store, and now when I run out, I know where I can find more really easily, which is nice. So the first video from this past week was our west side flower bed cleanup and a giant pine installation. So I cleaned out a flower bed that's near our house on the west side. I walked you through it, showed you what we needed to do, and then we did it. And it looked so much better when we were done, and it felt good to be out there doing that. And I swear the plants have perked up. Like the lungwort that was already starting to bloom, well, that and it's been warm. So of course everything's perking up, but everything just looks like it has new life. And while we were working on that, Malad Tree Farm brought another great big pine tree and it's gorgeous. And
it's a chunk.
Round, it is. It's so round, but it's perfect.
Do you think as that grows up, we'll need to like limit up a little bit?
I think that'll be up to you. I mean, we're using it as more of a block.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that it goes down to the ground because it just provides that thick block. But there is that one branch that kind of comes out further than the rest.
Oh, yeah?
That we could kind of like
trim
a little bit. I could selectively prune some out to make it a little bit more even with the rest of the shape.
Yeah. I think in the end it would be kind of nice to be able to see under it.
I suppose the other side of the lane will have a bunch of stuff being the block eventually. We didn't know we were going to get a hold of these trees. Had we known we were going to, we would have planted them on the far side.
Yeah.
Up against the fence instead of up against the paddocks. But it doesn't really matter in the end. We want it to be full and big things.
Yeah.
Anyway. So a small holding at at hill high said, can hellebores be used in hanging baskets so we could see the flowers when we look up at the basket? That's such a good idea. You could do a beautiful like late winter, spring hanging basket. They wouldn't be as great going into summer because when it gets warm, those flowers fade and they're still pretty. I mean, they're usually kind of a chartreuse green color, but they're not as showy. There are a lot of varieties of hellebores now that the flowers face up too. So you might look into some of those so that you can enjoy them in your landscape and then you won't have to worry about planting them out once it gets warm. Or is Samantha cruising around out there? I could see her head.
She's got 2 eggs in her hands.
Oh, she does. She probably wants to show me.
Yeah.
Okay, I heard the whole story of the eggs. Carol said, don't you fertilize on a regular basis through your drip irrigation? Why is it necessary to apply granular fertilizer in the spring? We cannot fertilize through our drip irrigation because it's the stuff we use is a granulated
I wonder if she watched that old video of us using the dosatron
Maybe.
and thought maybe we had scaled that up.
Yeah.
It just got to be too much, too many zones.
Right. Boy, that feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have a fertilizer injector system that you could put at the end of run a drip tubing.
Yeah.
And we could send it through. It was a liquid, like a water-soluble fertilizer, but you had to be careful and make sure it was completely dissolved.
Yeah.
Because it could get all bound up in there. I don't know how we would ever. Well, we don't want to fertilize everything with the same type of fertilizer,
Right.
and all of our stuff's hooked in together, so that would be very difficult to do.
I think the way we're doing it now is totally fine.
Yeah, in fact, Aaron was just talking to me about it this morning and how we need to get after it.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to
Probably this
rain here
week.
over the next week or two
Yeah.
as well. So I feel like if we get out there over the next couple days and get some of
Probably.
that out there, it'd
Yeah.
be good to, because we don't get enough rain to where it washes it away. We
Mm-hmm.
get just enough rain typically without, a freak storm. It just kind of like settles the fertilizer in.
Yeah. Any Key Lady said, I have some purple heucheras like yours. Is there a way of propagating them from the leaf stalk? I don't know about the leaf stalk. I know you can divide them eventually. I know if they get really leggy, you can actually dig them up and plant them lower in the ground to kind of like seat the plant a little bit lower in there and have it not be so kind of wild looking. But I've never tried propagating or even looked up whether you could propagate them from leaf stalks. It'd be interesting. Juniper said, love your content. I see you are pruning hydrangeas. I have one oak leaf hydrangea in a 2-gallon nursery pot. It's just starting to get the buds. Is it a good time to repot and fertilize? How big should I go for the container size? And what fertilizer and soil should I use? This is my first time trying to grow hydrangeas. So any advice is really appreciated. Yeah, it'd be great to, so you've got 2-gallon size nursery pot. I would probably pot your plant up into something like 24 inches-ish. I would use Espoma organic potting soil. That's what we use and have really good luck with that. And you could mix in some holly tone or flower tone or rose tone or biotone into that soil and plant tone. I mean, any of the tones that you have. Garden tone, you could use that one as well. Whatever tone you have, just mix a little of that into the soil and plant your hydrangea. Should be good to go. Jan said, how long in years do hydrangeas live? Thank you for another great video. How long do hydrangeas live?
No clue.
I don't either.
Forever.
I need to start a list. Can you root heucheras with the leaf stalk?
Yeah.
How long do hydrangeas live? I don't know. That's a good question. Pat says, always so rewarding when cleanup is done. The leaf blower you use looks very lightweight and easy to handle. Can you tell us what brand and model it is that you use? It is the DeWalt 60-volt blower.
And 20, depending on which one you're using.
Oh, I think I was using the 60.
Okay.
Yeah, 60 is better than the 20 for sure. It's more powerful. I think the 20 is lighter though. So yeah.
The 60 has more like wrist fatigue
Yes.
because it pushes your wrist and your arm away because it's blowing harder. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The 20 volt is nice for smaller jobs. The 60 is if you want more power. But just know with great power comes arm fatigue.
Responsive trilogists. Okay. Pretty Sunshine said, what were those big black and white birds with long tails? Don't see those here in Maryland. Those are magpies. Oh, they are such a nuisance. They want to
They're
eat all the
annoying.
cat food. All the cat food.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Also, they'll chase squirrels
Yeah.
for fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
I don't know. The squirrels may have antagonized them, but oftentimes I don't ever see a squirrel chasing a magpie. It's always the other way around. So maybe the squirrel did something. I don't know. I wasn't there. But you definitely see the squirrel running away from the magpie.
Squirrel and magpie wars at our house.
Yeah.
We've got a pair of squirrels that are hanging out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Latrans 5 said, your compost/dirt pile is getting really big with all your projects and cleanup. Will you eventually just spread it out and level it out? No, we'll eventually have it removed.
Chad will come in at some point needing to bring in topsoil or something, and then he'll load that up and take it out.
Take it out to a different pile that he has going.
Yeah.
So
it'll get reused probably because it'll sit at his place.
Yeah. Break down.
He's got
and-
acres and acres and acres, so it'll just break down eventually and then get used for some other project.
Yeah, for
maybe
fill.
like a decade down the road. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yep. Moj I don't know. I don't know. It says, love your videos. I've learned so much from them. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Quick question. Is it safe to ingest the fertilizer you use or handle it without gloves? Don't ingest it. Probably not good to ingest any kind of fertilizer. It does recommend that you use gloves when you're using it. And I think I was that day. I don't always, but definitely do use gloves when you're using it. Brian and Tammy said, do the limelights still stain your house paint? Will you move them to a new location or will they just go to the compost pile in the dirt lands? I love them when they're in bloom. The limelights did not stain our house this year. There weren't as many blooms left
They
on them.
struggled hard last year.
They did struggle hard.
I
We had a
don't
huge
know.
mite problem
Do you think it
last
was
year.
mites?
I think it was. But I kind of want something there that blooms a little bit earlier in the season. We will rehome them for sure. Whenever we dig something out of our garden, usually Bethany has a place. She loves to take stuff like that. In fact, I just loaded up I load her truck up all the time and I just tell her or text her like, hey, I just put a bunch of plastic pots and a couple lemon cypress in the back of your truck. That was yesterday. So anything that like I'm ready to part with, she will take it and either use it at her house or she will find a new home for it. And I've got a couple other people that I will usually text if we've got some extras, and I can usually always find a home for them. So we'll try to give them a second life if and when we do dig those out. Next video is project updates, picking up my spring annuals and planting a few containers. So we just updated a few projects, picked up a big load of annuals down at the garden center, and then I planted up a couple containers when I planted 5.
Yeah.
I planted the big one in the middle of the brick patio, which I love, with the redbud and the juniper and the hellebores and the heuchera and the lemon coral and the tulips. It's looking so pretty right now with the warmth. I love that one. And then I put some pansies around the boxwoods that are in the corner pots. Corey said, what do you envision for the formal garden once it's more shaded out in 20 years? Still row crops? I'm excited to see what you all do with the space. No, I want it to be like a lush shade garden. Hostas and all those sorts of things. Bronera, heucheras.
It'll
Like
be
the
awesome.
most common shade plants. I can't think of any.
Well, you know what? Though?
Hellebores.
You're probably not like the shade expert because it's just not something.
We don't have a lot of it.
We don't have a lot of space, and so there's not a lot of opportunity to.
We have a lot of space, but it's all sun space.
That's what I mean. You don't have a lot of space for. You don't have a lot of shade
gardening.
space.
Yeah,
So you don't have a lot of room to experiment.
right. 'Tis true. But no, I will eventually phase out of row crops in that space. Eventually. See, Still Wagon said, is there a difference between a perennial and an annual that seeds itself, or does the term perennial apply to both? No, it doesn't apply to both. A perennial that seeds itself. So if you have like an echinacea plant that comes up and then it sets its seed and then it sprinkles its seeds around and you get babies. Orangium is one that does that a lot too. There's a lot of them that will self-seed around, but the mother plant keeps coming back. So the original plant you put in the ground keeps coming back, as well as the babies that have spread around. With an annual, like larkspur, say, you have it grow up, it seeds itself, the plant you planted dies. And the only thing that comes up are the seeds that it spread around. Lori said, Laura, did you put fertilizer in the pots or do you wait till it's warmer? I typically don't with spring containers because they're so short-lived. For us, it's a few months, a couple months, maybe 2.5, 3 if we have a really early spring, and then we're transitioning stuff out. And I've stayed away from doing a lot of spring containers for the past couple of years because it always feels so fast and then I feel horrible pulling them out. But not anymore, because the last time I did it, Bethany took all the pansies and planted them just along the drip line in their orchard. So there's like little rivers of pansies throughout their orchard, and she just loved it. And so I thought, well, just do that again this year. Yeah. We get to enjoy them here. It brightens up the place, and it kind of fills my cup for planting and seeing all of the beautiful color, and then it gets to go to Bethany's, and she and her family can enjoy them. Sandra said, so if your parents' garden center is using a different grower, does that mean you aren't using Proven Winners anymore? No, we're still working with Proven Winners. My parents order from lots of different growers, and when they learn about a new one, they always like to try and order some things in and see what they look like. So the pansies that I picked up that day were from that new grower. So anyway, it's just
Also, technically, Proven Winners isn't a grower. If you think about it,
sure.
They're kind of like a marketing company, and they own the rights to a lot of plants that are like interesting and whatnot, and then other people grow them.
Right.
Like they license other growers to grow them
Proven Winners plants, as well as a lot of other brands of plants.
Yeah, so you can be a grower that grows Proven Winners plants.
Ball.
You could be buying stuff from Ball Seed. Mm-hmm. You could be buying stuff from
Dunham. Is it Dunham?
Doom and Orange.
Is that what it's right?
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
That's like a world that we're not involved in, really.
No, but we still are working with Proven Winners.
Yeah.
Our season just really hasn't started yet. We don't get our order from Proven Winners for annuals until the last week of April, maybe this year, or first week of May, right around there, where we're kind of past the real dangerous for frost kind of time. I think our perennials are going to be here next week or the week after. Anyway, they'll start showing up here soon. Patricia said, love watching your videos. I learn something new every time. Have you ever tried Pond Shield on your concrete? I have used it on several bird baths, inside and on the outside. Works great. So Pond Shield, I guess I'm not familiar. Let me look it up really quick. Must be some kind of like a sealant, I'm guessing. Epoxy pond liner. Designed to waterproof even the toughest water feature projects. Well, that sounds interesting. Non-toxic epoxy. Has an excellent bond strength to almost any surface, very impact resistant, and is designed to flex when needed, making this coating the best option for waterproofing your pond, fountain, or other type of water feature. Huh. That might be something I need to look a little bit more into. That's intriguing to me. Jewel said, why not grow the pansies by seed? You know, I just don't have a lot of interest in starting them from seed, and I think it's mostly because pansies and violas both are some of the cheapest annuals you can buy all season long.
Sure.
So for me, I would rather use my space to grow perennials and some of those varieties of things that you can't get from starts already grown. Yeah. Gina's channel said, will you be adding any shade trees within your horse paddocks? I enjoy seeing pastures that have places for the horses to retreat to for shelter for the harsh sun, wind. I can't wait to see what you create in that space. I would like to have some big shade trees out there.
There will certainly be shade around the perimeter. We're starting on that kind of now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we should have some shade trees in there. What would you plant?
Oh, I don't know. Something
Lindens?
non-toxic.
Maybe like a black walnut.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will need to think about something for the back paddocks, though, because the afternoon sun, if the horses are in the back paddocks, they won't have anything because that whole tree border is along the front paddocks. So, yeah, we'll need to get some. I like that look, too. I like to see big trees out in the middle of areas like that.
Just have to have like a fence around it. It's where they can't get too close.
Probably. Yeah. Sally Sweet said, did the cloudy finish on the bricks by your back door ever get remedied? No. No. And we talked about it. We let them know what was going on, and nope, they never got fixed. And also, you know what else? You know those weird pavers that were making up the kind of tipped border? You know, we had all of those removed in favor of flat stones, but they left a bottom layer in one spot, and I pointed it out. I'm like, those are supposed to be gone. Like I can see those still. Like I want to see stones so it matches everything else. And okay, we'll get, they're still there. And then I went to dig a hole in the flower bed the other day, and there was one spot where those pavers curved into the flower bed, and they just put soil right over the top of them. So there's still like a wall of pavers in the flower bed right there.
Shame.
So we are planning on taking up that whole thing right there.
You will rip up all the pavers, and then we've talked about this before maybe, but we need to put down
heat cables. Just in that one spot. It's on the north side of our house. Of course, it's, a spot that stays icy and kind of treacherous.
It's funny, like, not only the bricks cloudy, but they're also caving in.
Yeah, they're sinking all over.
Like?
And there's low spots. Like, we have a rain, and there's, like, a big low spot in the middle, like nothing was, I don't know. Anyway, it's a good thing that we decided we needed heat cables there.
Eventually. It's not top of the list.
We probably won't even do it this year, but it's, definitely not something that I love the outcome of.
Sure.
Janice said, I thought the hellebores needed shade to part shade, but you're planting it in full sun. What gives? In the spring, you can plant shade things wherever you want, as long as you're planning on moving them by the time summer rolls around. And that's why in containers it works perfect. You can pretty much do whatever you want because the sun just isn't as harsh. Plants can all take it. And then we clean them out anyway to get ready for summer annuals, so I can put them in the appropriate spot once I'm ready to plant them out. I love that about spring and fall containers both. You can fudge light requirements. You can also fudge spacing in spring and fall containers because they're just not putting on the kind of growth that summer annuals do. So you can pack it in and not feel bad about it at all. Plants will be fine. Jeannie said, Laura, what kind of boxwood are they? Thank you. Looks so beautiful. I'm looking forward to seeing the red bud and bloom. They are in full bloom in Arkansas. The boxwoods in the pots the corner pots are Green Mountain boxwoods. And then I've got 4 winter gems around the base of the middle container that has the red bud in it. Okay, next video was planting 13 simple, sweet spring containers and 3 Invincible Ruby hydrangeas. So I just moved through as many containers as I could. They're very simple. I use daffodils and tulips in some of them as centerpieces and pansies around the exterior. And in some of them, I just use pansies. And I love it because it's a very low investment compared to other plants that you could put in containers. And they just brighten it up so much. I'm just loving it a lot. And then we ended up with 1 Invincible Ruby hydrangea from the pot by the chicken coop and then 2 from the 2 pots in the Persephone garden. So we went out into the landscape and planted those 3 out. Taylor said, so exciting to see annuals going in. A little early yet for us in southern Minnesota. I'm interested in the aquapot inserts. Oh, that's the other thing. I did put aquapot inserts in 7 of the pots that day. But I have a question or concern. Is there a limit to how big of a container, diameter, and or depth you can use them in and still have it provide enough water to the whole container to last a day? That's a very good question. I don't have a drip system and I'm trying to eliminate having to hand water my pots every day if possible. Isn't there 2 sizes?
I believe there's 1 size right now. They're coming out with, I think, a smaller one and a larger one.
Because we could have used a larger one
Yeah.
in a few of those containers as well.
But I don't think it's out yet. So
Sure.
for now, this is the
Yeah.
only size there is.
Yeah. So it would be an experiment to see how much water your plants actually pull every single day. And ours is just to kind of limp it by through one day until the drip hits them the next day.
Yeah.
Because we go every other day on that. Mary in Idaho said, when do your baby chicks arrive? They arrive on Wednesday, April the 2nd. We go pick them up, which means that we're getting pretty close. I need to go get my act together. I've got my heat lamp and bulb already. I think I've got a feeder and a water already. I need to get I already got bedding. I just need a tub to put them in, which I'm sure I can scare one up from around here somewhere. I'm only getting 5. So I don't need anything massive. My mom ordered like 12, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
Going through the eggs.
Yes. I think she gives them away to people at work too. Yeah. S. Thomas said, so how do the aquapot inserts work in winter? Where you don't want your plants to be too wet? Would you just plant annuals in those pots to avoid winter damage to perennials or concrete planter? Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. I don't know if leaving a plastic insert inside of a container throughout the winter would be a great idea if it's got water in there and expand. I don't know if it'd be protected enough by the soil around it. And
yeah, we'll have to see.
Depending on how much soil is around it too, because if you're putting it in a container where it just fits right to the bottom and there's not an insulation layer,
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be as good. Or if you're just planting annuals, you're cleaning them out at the end of the year anyway, you could just pop that insert out
Right.
and clean it and store it, which would be the safest route to go.
Right.
And maybe just not plan on not putting those in containers you're going to be putting perennials or evergreens in to last through winter.
Right.
I don't really know what the answer is.
We're kind of all experimenting together.
Yeah, we'll bring you along for what we end up doing. Melinda said, when do you generally bring out all the hose links? May-ish? Nope, they're all out now. When it's in the high 20s consistently, it's fine. Just because we disconnect them from the hose faucet. Like we'll use it and then disconnect so it's not hooked to the faucet, but we'll leave them out because it's usually only 28, 29, whatever for just like an hour in the morning, and it's not frozen for long enough to really do any damage. So all of ours have been out for a while now. Jenna said, when it comes to extending the boxwoods, will you just plant new ones or would you consider transplanting from the established ones that need to be removed? Are they too large to transplant or too established to survive moving? Yeah, so what year were those planted?
2017, 18?
A while ago.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to try to move those. They're mostly suffering anyway. If you look close at them, you'll see areas that had to be removed because of so much dead in there. I don't know. We have tried to dig up established boxwoods and move them, and I've had success with a couple of them, but it is super risky because to get a large enough root ball, they are so hard to manage. They get so heavy. So I think we'll just take those out, cut our losses, and put new ones in. Lisa said, is there a dipstick so you can check the water level in the inserts? I think we could easily come up with one. I just need to get like a little stake with a little cork on the bottom and then figure out, like paint the top to show, how high it should be if the water thing is full and,
Yeah, if you put something dry in there,
yeah,
you'd be able to see.
Janice said, when trimming back my Invincible rubies, I noticed many white roots on top of the soil. Have you experienced this? The base of the plant seems to be in the proper location in the ground. Should I try to dig down a little to bury the roots or just put soil on top of the roots? I usually just put a little bit of extra soil on top of the roots. No big deal. Or dig up and replant the whole shrub. You could do that as well, but it's a little bit more shocking to the plant. So kind of tuck a little bit of mulch or something around, or soil around the roots, and you should be good. Waterfall said, do the things you planted today, pansies and tulips, not need biotone, or are you out? Will you fertilize them later? What about the hydrangeas too? Hydrangeas I fertilize later. I am actually currently out of biotone, and I don't know when we're receiving more.
It's coming. I heard.
On its way.
We have an entire pallet of biotone.
I will
coming.
use it probably
I know
this
you will.
year. I know. I use the heck out of that stuff. So I've been just using whatever open bag I have. Holly tone, garden tone, whatever. But I don't use it in spring containers like I mentioned before. Garden Aaron Carriage Hill said, could you transplant the daffodils and tulips from your crates to pots? Yeah, you absolutely could if you wanted to go that route. I'm working on just getting them potted out or planted out into the landscape. We've done one crate so far, and as we have more crates that have died back and they're ready to be transplanted, then I will work on that as well. Betty said, do you think with the picket fence gone, which I'm glad, but people might want to drive up the portico entrance? Maybe it's just the angle of the shot. Hope not. I hope not, too. It hasn't happened yet, but that was one of my biggest concerns when we got rid of it.
Since having the gate, we've had so many less people
Yeah.
coming through our property just in general. Because, people would come down and you could tell that I think a lot of people were doing it on accident. Like, I try to assume the best in people, that they're not,
You're nice.
have bad intent. But you can kind of tell, I think, by the way people are driving that they're a little hesitant. They're like, oh, how do I get out of here? They're just trying to find the quickest way out because they took the wrong turn. And so they would make really weird, 60-point U-turns.
Breaking sprinklers,
to
running
get
over
out.
trees.
But anyway, with the gate, it's been so much better. So I really don't think it's going to be much of an issue. Also, another thing that could help is if we put a little sign up at the front with an arrow telling people to go left when they come onto the property. I think that would eliminate basically all of it, because there's lots of ways to turn around if you've taken a left.
Right.
If you go straight, what happens is that it's such a long and straight road that there's nowhere to turn around unless you keep going.
And you can't really see it till you get to it.
And you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think people get freaked out. They're like, I'm not going to have another chance to turn around. So they just take whatever opportunity they can.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be a problem.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet,
Yeah.
because there is plenty of room for somebody to turn around in
Yeah.
there. Next video was garden center work day. That was fun. I just went down for the day and
You worked hard.
worked. Yeah, we worked, and then we had a huge dinner that night, and it was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed my entire day. Susie Thomas said, did Mike put Susan's plants in the truck? Hope everything was okay. Yeah, we were giving my dad a little sass because he was supposed to load up a bunch of my mom's plants, and he just hadn't got to it yet. So Monica and I displayed a bunch of them because we thought there was no red tape on them, and my mom thought they had already been loaded up, so she didn't worry about it. And then she came back like, those are mine. So we had to go retrieve a bunch of stuff that we had put out. Everything was fine. Everybody got their plants. Carol said, hi, I appreciate the spring work at a garden center much more after seeing this. Question, what is the lovely twisted tree you're moving at 1945 timestamp? I like it. It's a twisty baby honey locust. So the leaves, not only are the branches all twisty and gnarly, but the leaves come out like that too. It's kind of like a contorted filbert, but it's a plant that can take full sun in our area. It's like a really good alternative to a scarlet curls willow. You get the same shape, but you don't have the bright color. So but scarlet curls willow are much bigger pain than honey locusts, for sure. Also, your father sounds like he has a bit of an accent when he's speaking. How can that be? Hasn't he lived in the Northwest all his life? I love listening to him. Sounds almost like a Southern accent. I've never heard that.
It's possible that farmers around here have a little bit of a twang.
Does he have it? He's
Well, I
just
don't
my
know,
dad,
it's
so I
not
don't
like
really.
a Southern twang, but I think that there's a certain vernacular that
Sure.
farmers kind of pick up, and your
Yeah.
dad's sort of in that world because that's who he's dealing with a lot. So it's possible that could be coming through. It's not really an accent; it's just like a regional. I don't know.
My dad, though, I mean, as rough as he can appear, to people, because he's got kind of like a stern, not stern, but serious, kind of
Maybe.
a serious facade.
Yeah.
He's so not that way, and people really like to go in there and talk with him.
People like him, and he's really good at making friends.
Yeah, he is.
And
Very
chatting
much so.
people up.
Yeah.
And
He's the type that when we're traveling, like Aaron and I went on a trip to England. No, I think the whole family was on this trip. Anyway, my dad ends up in the kitchen. Like, he ends up with the chefs in the kitchens. Like, where did dad go? And he's making friends and asking him can you show me how you do this? Because that's really good. I think that's super tasty. He's
Right.
he doesn't know a stranger.
But people seem to genuinely like to show him things
Yeah.
or what, because he'll like he seems to take a genuine interest in things, and people like that genuineness, because there's not, sometimes you kind of feel like maybe people are being fake or whatever, but I think people can sense a certain like genuineness to him, and they appreciate that, and so they're like, yeah, come on into the kitchen, I'll show you. Kind of
There's
thing.
one tell though. If he's not listening to you, he does this.
Yeah.
Like it's the funniest thing. I'll be in there talking. Well, this happened more when I was down there working, and like he's got his mind on different things. He's selling seed and making like, big seed contracts and stuff, and so he's like busy. And I'm coming in telling about something that I need or whatever out in the grain shed, and he'll just look at me like, and I'm like, hey, are you listening to anything I'm telling you right now? No. So anyway.
We all
Just
do
in
that,
case,
though.
yeah, just in
He
case you
just
ever
has a
talk to my
tell.
dad. Yeah, it's very apparent when he's just not there, not paying attention to you. Panties in Pink said, does everyone in your family have different color eyes? My dad, brother, and sister have brown eyes. I have blue eyes, and my mom has blue and or green eyes, depending on what she's wearing or where she's at, what the day is like. They can even be like a little bit more of a gray color. Samantha's are a little bit like that because Aaron has hazel eyes. I have blue eyes. Benjamin got mine for sure, but Samantha's aren't as bright blue. They're more of like a mix between a hazel and a blue. Huh. Linda said, good morning, Laura. The photography work today was outstanding. I did all of that. It was a lot of work, you guys. Moving that camera around. I mean, it was all fun. It didn't feel like work, but it was a lot of steps. And I always feel it. I think I expressed the sentiment at the end. It feels like a mess by the end because I'm like, I have no idea what I captured. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it was interesting. I just, like, I have to try to balance too, like, making it worth it for me to be down there for them, like being in the way with the camera and stuff like that. Like I want to get stuff done. So they're like, oh, it was nice to have you here today instead of being a nuisance with my camera. So I have to try to balance that a little bit. So I'm glad that it was good. Question, do you sometimes miss working at your family's business? You seem so happy there. I say that do I actively miss it? No. But I think that's because I have the ability to go down there whenever I want to. And there's a lot of pros. There's a lot of pros to doing what we do here at home. I mean, I've been able to be around the kids. Like I didn't miss their baby years, you know, and I was working, but I was also like, they were in and out. They were around me. I was around them. You know, I could go in and see them, hold them at any point that I wanted to or needed to. And that was a massive blessing, massive. So thank you to all of you guys who watch our videos because we couldn't do that. I couldn't have done that without you. And I think I would miss it if I didn't have the ability to be down there. But we go in, like I went in twice today. I forgot my phone down there. But I did go stroll through the greenhouse on the second trip because I was without the kids and you. So I had a little bit more freedom to go through. But yeah, we're down there all the time. Yorkie said, do your parents use your experience of how well plants grow in your area as an aid for ordering for the garden center? Yeah. I think we all learn from each other. And I think like one notable example is hydrangeas. I grew up thinking that hydrangeas needed more shade than they actually do. They need the sun, they just need more water here. So we've been able to experiment and have like major success with hydrangeas in our garden. And I think that's opened up their eyes to be like, oh, you know, they are more productive plants. They just need to adjust what we're doing with them.
It's just not the same as a juniper.
Right. Very different. Angela said, am I remembering right that Laura was named after Laura Ingalls Wilder? If so, it fits her perfectly because Pa Ingalls said that Laura was as strong as a little French horse. No, I was not named after Laura Ingalls Wilder that I can recall. I should ask what.
I don't even know mine either.
I don't know why I was named. I think I was supposed to be a Benjamin if I was a boy.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. LFC said, such joy watching all the beautiful plants be put out and the stoneware, such tall trees. What type were they? The big tall trees we put out were tulip trees, and then we put out the heritage birch trees, which those were really tall. Yeah. Kathy said, my lord, what time did you start in the morning? You two were the Energizer bunnies, and you still have to go home and do all your stuff there and prepare your part of the wonderful menu for dinner. I'm tired just thinking about your day, so since it's after midnight here, I'm going to bed. Just kind of all in the day's work. Like today, today's been kind of busy like that too. And then my parents asked if we wanted to come over and play a game tonight. And I said, sure, let me just bring out everything I'm making for dinner. So we're just going to pack up all the dinner ingredients and take it out there. And I'll just make what I had planned because they're at work all day. and I had time to get the meat out and get it marinating and all of that. So we do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And just last minute stuff. Okay, the last group of questions is from last week's recap video. Valerie said, why would people judge you for using tallow? I'm confused about that. That's why I said tallow, because I knew I wouldn't be judged for using tallow. I didn't say what I actually used because I would be judged for that. I thought that my joke came across clear, but I don't think it did. I think most people thought I used tallow.
It's like saying I've never said a swear word.
Never in my life. Martha said, I have 2 hose links and they are both leaking internally. Have you ever encountered that? Can they be opened up and fixed without causing further damage? If so, is there anything to watch out for?
You know, the last time that we bought hose, was it the last time or the time before? I don't remember when it was, but I ordered like 4 at a time and one of them was leaking out the box. And so I just went through their support thing and they said, check this and that. And I did, and it didn't work. And then I ended up just throwing it away. Or we kept it and used it for parts. But they just sent a new one.
What kind of parts?
We probably threw it away. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of how you would extract a part from one of those.
Yeah, you really wouldn't. It would be nice if you could get in there and, fix.
Yeah, it
fix
would
parts.
be. If there was like clasps that you could open up or.
But
even
whatever
it.
ended up happening, they just sent another one and
They took care of it.
I think I remember them saying like, if you can fix it in any way to where it's mildly usable, just keep it or toss it or whatever.
Sure. Weedy said, do you realize when you say a tree you plant will only live 25 to 30 years that you will be 65 to 70 by then?
Yeah, I don't want those trees falling down on my watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I would like to plant trees that will outlive me.
Yeah. With my high level of income and
Advances in modern science. It's not crazy to think I wouldn't live 200-300 years old.
there you go.
That's a quote from a movie. Not
serious.
Not serious. Just throwing that out there.
Bonnie said, did you mention your tulips experiencing tulip fire? What is that? And is that why we haven't had any updates on them? I actually gave an update. You might have seen it by the time this goes out. Yes, I'm pretty sure they had tulip fire, which is a fungal disease, some type of botrytis. And it's really only affects tulips. And it spread through my tulips like crazy. They all came up beautifully. And I didn't have any issue of note out in the garden. So when I dug them up and stored them, I didn't think I had any issue. And they started coming up, beautiful green, no issues. And then I started noticing right after we moved into the high tunnels from the heated greenhouse, I noticed the tips looking a little bit brown. I thought, well, they were probably not acclimated enough to go out where it's, getting really cold, even if they're under protection. Maybe they got nipped a little bit. But then it started getting worse and spreading down the plant and spreading to other plants. And we ended up dumping all of them.
Crop failure.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that just happens, I guess. And once you have tulips affected by that, do not save them. Do not plant them by other tulips. Just trash them. And that's what we did, which was a big bummer. And it was all an experiment anyway. Honestly, the daffodils outperformed beyond my wildest imagination. They were amazing, and I would do that again in a second. All right. Joyce said, now, Laura, is the sandwich shop on the corner of your parents' block that they own the same one that your mother worked at when your father asked her out? Or am I just romanticizing the story? You are not romanticizing. That is true. Now, it's called Belly Buster, and that's the name that it's had since who knows how long. But it used to be in a different location. That's the one that my mom worked at. It burned down, and that's when they decided to move it to the building that my parents have at the corner there. So it kind of lives on, like the start of my parents' relationship.
I had it today.
Yeah, you did for lunch.
With a strawberry lemonade.
Ooh, they
That
make
was
good strawberry lemonades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Highly recommend. If you come down sometime, to visit the garden center, definitely check their strawberry lemonades out. Vicky said, do you get ants in your garden pots? If so, how do you get rid of them? We just use a bait for those, and we don't normally get them in our pots, though. We just get little piles of ants here and there. Kids love to look at them.
Yeah.
They'll just crouch down and stare at them for a while. Victoria said, and this is our last question, curious if you all found the perfect property, where would that property be? What is Aaron's dream climate?
It would probably be like a Southern California climate, but I don't want the I want to be careful that I say this correctly. It's not the people that I hate. It's the amount of people that I hate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's just the busyness and the traffic and the close quarters. And you're
I don't
used
want people
more
to think
space.
that I hate Californians. That's not it. I hate the amount of people
We love
that
to visit
Yeah, the trip to San Diego.
Yeah.
I love the climate there.
Yeah.
It's really great. But I just don't want to live somewhere where there's that amount of people around.
It's the congestion. I think.
Too much traffic and all that. So there really is no perfect place, but it would be the climate of Southern California, sans the people.
Yeah. I think it would take a lot to make us move.
Oh yeah, we'll never move. I mean, I want to. I would love to. Like, I fantasize about, having, 100 acres and our house being right in the
Sure.
center of it, or 1,000 acres.
Oh,
or
I would
something.
like that too.
Or like, there's this catalog that your dad gets that he gives me. It's called the KNIPE catalog, KNIPE, I think is what it is. And it's just, I mean, the properties are like, 10 million and above. And it'll be just like thousands of acres with a river running through it, or a
Oh, my
creek
goodness,
or
yeah.
something. And it's like in wooded areas and stuff like that. Looks
Mm-hmm.
awesome. If I ever won the lottery, that's what I would want to do
Yeah.
probably, is buy like a couple thousand acres somewhere with a creek running through it. And
It would still be hard though. I mean, even if one could afford that, it would be an incredibly hard move because like just yesterday, my mom called and said, "Hey, can I come get the kids and take them to go get a cookie?" Like
You know
to
what you
have
would
that
do?
proximity with the grandparents and
it'd be easy. You just call your pilot and you say, "Hey, take the plane down, go pick up Susan, bring her over here."
is that what you would
That's
do?
what you do. Yeah.
I never think about such things.
Oh, I do. Because if you won, like, I think the Powerball is up to like $500 million or something like that. You can
You
buy.
would pollute this earth with all of that jet fuel, Aaron.
I would. I totally would.
Are you kidding me?
I think when you have that kind of money, I would be able to accept the hate and just be like, you know what? I'm just going to live my best life. Yeah.
Okay, well, on that note, let's just end it. Yeah, okay. I was going to bring up something else, but I won't.
Next time.
All right, guys, that is it for this week's recap video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful, especially Aaron's comments toward the end there. I hope you guys are all having a great day. Have a great week, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.